going on, everyone? And welcome to the first and last hit show on the Block 105 Radio. I'm Mac Dubs. Tonight I will be producer with co-producer AJ to the left, well, to my right, your left. And tonight we will be producing the Coming Off the Bench podcast with Landon. So we are going to get into that right now.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you, Mac. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Coming Off the Bench podcast. My name is Landon Rank. It's great to have you on the show tonight. Happy Monday, everyone. Obviously, today is May 20th, but when you hear this show, it will be May 28th. So I want to welcome you all to the show. It's great to be with everyone today. I'm live here from my Longmont, Colorado studios here in Colorado. It is great to be with you on the podcast. I'll just give a little introductory of myself. My name is Landon Rank. I'm a 14-year-old sports broadcaster. I live here in Colorado. I'm originally from the state of Iowa, and I moved here a couple of years ago. And I love sports. I am a big Nuggets fan, big Avalanche fan, big Rockies fan, big Broncos fan, whatever you call it. I love sports. And I am super excited to be hosting the Coming Off the Bench podcast. In this podcast, every other week, you can hear it live on the Block 105 Radio and on the Buzzsprout for about 3 more weeks on the Buzzsprout. But I'm really excited because we have a lot to talk about. We're going to recap sports. Today, we're going to recap what happened in the NBA over the weekend. We're going to talk some NHL. We're going to even get into some NFL news and some NBA. Below in your comment section, any questions, I'll be answering them today here on Off the Bench podcast. I'm Landon Rank. We're going to get right into it, man. We have about a 50 to 55-minute show today, so I'm really excited to present to you guys today's show. And let's take it away, ladies and gentlemen, with some NBA news. Over the weekend, we saw 3 NBA teams finish and advance to their conference finals. And those teams are now going to be set in stone to play in this year's Western and Eastern Conference Finals. On Saturday night, we saw the Oklahoma City Thunder go down to the Dallas Mavericks. And that one was an interesting one because the Oklahoma City Thunder were the 1 seed in their division. They were predicted by a lot of people to make it to the NBA Finals. And to see them get second rounded is very interesting. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into Luka. We're going to get into Kyrie. We got a lot of action to talk. I'm going to quickly recap the game in that series. So that was a 6-game series, and it was really the Mavericks taking control of that series throughout. I mean, they got a huge game 2 in Oklahoma City, followed by a giant game 3 win, and they had a chance to really take a 3-1 lead before the Dallas Mavericks fell to the Oklahoma City Thunder in game 4, leading to a win in game 5 to get to the elimination game in game 6 at home, getting the 117 to 116 win in that final game 6. And what a game was it? I mean, we saw Shea Alexander with 36 points in that game. I mean, the Thunder were rolling early in the game. And to see that comeback that the Dallas Mavericks made, it is amazing to see how the Mavericks did this. And this is why they are in the Western Conference Finals, folks. You do not just make it to the Western Conference Finals without winning games. And Luka got it done with 29 points. He was 9 from 15 from the field. Rebound leader were Derek Lively, who had 15 boards alongside with Jalen Williams with 9 for the Thunder, and assists, Luka Doncic with 10. So that was huge. We saw an amazing game, an amazing comeback. The Thunder just mounted a great comeback. The Thunder were down big at halftime. Looks like here they were down 64 to 48 at halftime. That is a huge deficit to come back from a over 15-point deficit at once. Thunder mount the comeback at home, and they will face the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. And that is not the next game we're going to talk about. We got to talk about what we saw in the morning action of Sunday. And Mac, I'm sorry about bringing this one up, but the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks, it was a great Game 7. This series was very evenly matched. All teams winning home games coming up to Game 7. And big news came pregame. Jalen Brunson, broken wrist, broken hand. He was out for the game. A huge injury for Brunson, as he is obviously was currently the New York Knicks leader. And surprisingly, coming out of this game, nearly scoring 40 points for the New York Knicks was Dante DiVincenzo with 39 points. He was 11 from 21 from the field, and it was just a surprising mark, but it was not enough as the Indiana Pacers cruised past the New York Knicks 130 to 109. It just felt like the Pacers game all game opened up with a 12-point lead through the first half for the first quarter, then had a 15-point lead at halftime. I mean, when you are the Indiana Pacers, you have already defeated the 3-seed highly ranked Bucks, and now to come in and defeat the New York Knicks, a team that I believed could be an underdog to win the NBA Finals, that is huge. And I think that is a great accomplishment by this Pacers team, proving, hey, Tyrese, he played great last night, 26 points, third leading scorer, 10 from 17. And I mean, he really looked good. And I think that is why these Pacers could be the underdog to make it to the NBA Finals. Obviously, there are two teams remaining in the East. We'll talk about my matchup, who I think between the Celtics and the Pacers. But you know what? The Pacers could be an underdog to make it to that NBA Final. And I think it's great to see where they are right now, the Indiana Pacers, with this young roster, a experienced point guard in Tyrese Haliburton, and obviously leading rebounds was Andrew Nembhard with 5, Josh Hart with New York with 8. It was a great game, great series. I mean, Jalen Brunson's injury definitely played dividends. That would have been a couple more points for the Knicks in this 21-point loss. But it was overall just a great game, great series, and congratulations to the Indiana Pacers. They win it in 7 against the New York Knicks. So that was the morning game on Sunday, and don't worry, we had another game 7. Well, this one, a amazing game, downtown Denver, Sunday night basketball. You'll never see it better than this. Defending NBA champions versus the young Minnesota Timberwolves. This series was just a heck of a series, and it was called the series of momentum for me, ladies and gentlemen. The Nuggets, Timberwolves. A lot of people thought the Timberwolves were easily going to take down the Nuggets. It looked like that at the beginning. Nuggets get down 2-0. We know the story. After Game 2, Nikola Jokic wins MVP, and then suddenly the Nuggets come back. They trounced the T-Wolves in Game 3. Then they get a huge Game 4 win. They come into Ball Arena and win Game 5, and now they have 2 chances to eliminate the Minnesota Timberwolves. They go into the Target Center on Thursday night, and we know what happens. The Minnesota Timberwolves absolutely clapped the Denver Nuggets by 45. But Nuggets fans did not give up because they knew a huge game coming in here at Game 7 in downtown Denver Ball Arena. And ladies and gentlemen, this game might just be the most heartbreaking game in the history of Denver sports. I read an article earlier today about the Denver Post about this might be even more heartbreaking than any Denver professional sports game. That is a huge statement to make, folks, because, I mean, there has been a lot of devastating Denver games. I mean, you go back to the Denver Broncos when they lost all those Super Bowls back in the 80s and 90s. Colorado Avalanche have had a couple of playoff losses that, I mean, are just devastating. Last year's loss to the Krakens. But, I mean, this one, just a heck of a game. Let's recap it. Nuggets come out 19-24 lead after the end of the first quarter. Jamal Murray was going off. And, me excited. I remember texting my friends and being like, let's go. Nuggets are on track right now. They're getting close. They're going to be in that push to make it to the Western Conference Finals. But then this second quarter just absolutely blew my mind. Nuggets win at 29-19 to take a 38-54 lead into the locker room. And that was huge. Nuggets up by 15 at the break. And I remember texting one of my friends and saying, Nuggets are heading to the Western Conference Finals. Well, hold your breath, folks. Basketball is not a 20-minute game. It's not a 24-minute game. It's a 48-minute game in the NBA. And definitely did that third quarter pay off. The Minnesota Timberwolves outscoring the Denver Nuggets 28-14. And here's the crazy part. The Nuggets opened up the third quarter on a 5-0 run to make it a 20-point game. At one point, it was 58-38. So that tells you something right there, that the Nuggets open up on a 5-0 run, get up by 20, and then at the end of the third quarter, it is a 1-point game. And then the fourth quarter, just a disaster for the Nuggets. 32-23, Timberwolves outscore the Nuggets. And as that buzzer sounds, the Nuggets with a devastating loss, and just one that you might just have to look back at and say this could be the most heartbreaking loss in Denver season. I'm going to take a second here to recap some of your stats before I get my take on this game, this Nuggets season, what the Nuggets offseason needs to look like. We got some inside right here. Jamal Murray, Nuggets leading scorer with 35, and Karl Anthony Towns with 23 for the T-Wolves. So it wasn't a high-scoring affair for the T-Wolves players. Karl Anthony Towns with 12 rebounds, Nikola Jokic with 19 in assists, Nikola Jokic with 7, Anthony Edwards with 7. Man, did this suck. As a Nuggets fan who watched the whole playoffs last year, there was something different about last year. I'm going to say this about the Colorado Avalanche 2 years ago. I'm going to say this about the Denver Nuggets last year. There was something that pushed them through this whole season. Same with the last season. Same with the Avalanche the season before. In those seasons, the 2021 to 22 Avalanche season and the 2022 to 23 Nuggets season, there was something that pushed the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche to cruise through games. It felt like they were destined to win the NBA Finals last year. I mean, look at their playoffs matchups. They get a 8-seed Timberwolves in the first round, who they gentlemen sweep. Obviously, see the Timberwolves made some excellent offseason moves, excellent player development. This is a much better Timberwolves team. I'm going to give my take on the T-Wolves in a second, but first I want to break this one down for the Nuggets. And then you run into a second-round match against a 4-seed Phoenix, which goes into 6 games, probably the Nuggets' biggest test of last year's playoffs. And then you go into Game 3 against the Lakers, where you sweep them, a non-good Lakers team last year, who somehow made it to the Western Conference Finals with a path that they played a hurt, banged-up Memphis Grizzlies team and then playing the Golden State Warriors. So it was an interesting playoff run last year for the Denver Nuggets. And then they get set up against an 8 seed that was in the play-in tournament against the Miami Heat, where they gentlemen sweep them in a matchup that probably should have been a sweep by all means. And we look into this year, Nuggets come out, play a much better Lakers team, another gentleman sweep, but this Timberwolves team was a lot. And I'm not going to lie, if the Nuggets get past last night's game, I think they make it to the NBA Finals. I think the winner of this matchup is going to make it to the NBA Finals, and obviously the T-Wolves, I see it happening. T-Wolves, I can see them probably beating the Dallas Mavericks in 5 or 6 games. You know, the Mavericks played a Oklahoma City Thunder team that was too young. You know, a 1 seed. I mean, you look at March Madness a lot, right? I like to compare this to March Madness because, you know, in March Madness, you'll always have 1 or 2 1 seeds that lose in the Sweet 16 through Elite 8 rounds. And it just feels like it's a young team that's going through one of those just magical seasons. The Oklahoma City Thunder have a great coach. And, I mean, obviously you want Coach of the Year. But the Oklahoma City Thunder are a young team, and we talk about it. I mean, Shea, I mean, he could have won MVP this year. But this is a young Thunder team. Chet Holmgren played great this year. I think this Thunder could be a huge problem in the West these next couple of years. And let's see what happens to the T-Wolves. Do they make it to the NBA Finals? If they win it all, I mean, this West is stacked. I mean, I was looking at crazy stats here. If we go back here to the New York Knicks obviously lost yesterday. The Knicks regular season final record for the New York Knicks, they were the second best team in the Eastern Conference Finals. They had a 50-32 record, and they were the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Here's the crazy part. Are you ready for this? The Western Conference had the top 6 teams had better records than any team after the 6th seed. That is crazy to think that right here in the Western Conference Finals, these 1 through 6 seeds had a better record than the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. That is amazing to think. That is amazing. This Western Conference is stacked. And I just think, you know, where the Western Conference is right now is amazing. I mean, look at where they are compared to back in the 90s when we had the Boston Celtics, when we had the Chicago Bulls, you know, when we had teams in the Eastern Conference that were threats. I mean, the Boston Celtics were obviously a team that had a dynasty, obviously, in the earlier 60s and 70s. And, I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy. And the Western Conference is in a great spot. Look at the 2 last winners of the NBA Finals, all from the Western Conference. And, that's where we look and say, hey, as a Nuggets fan, I'm rooting for the Western Conference, and I believe they can win this whole thing. Now let's talk about the East. I know AJ would want me to talk about those Boston Celtics, so let's get it taken on the Celtics gentleman sweep of the Cleveland Cavaliers, a banged-up Cavaliers team towards the ending. Donovan Mitchell out for game number 5 and game number 4. That's huge for the Cleveland Cavaliers, a 4 seed that I'm going to give them credit on this run this year. Great run. Cavaliers exceeded my expectations. Good playoff team. I mean, you don't have LeBron anymore. You don't have LeBron or Kyrie anymore, but you still have a good team in the Cleveland Cavaliers. But do I feel like the Boston Celtics are destined like the Denver Nuggets last year? My answer to that question is no. That is a hot take right there, but I think, and I just have this feeling that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win the NBA Finals. They have a young team, the Boston Celtics. If they make it to the NBA Finals, which I assume they will, I think the Pacers have made a great run, but this is going to be one of those runs where it just ends in 5 or 6. A more experienced Boston Celtics team. Jason Tatum playing some great ball right now out in Boston. And I got to look at this and I got to say to myself, Boston, they make it to the NBA Finals. This would be their second in 3 years. Minnesota Timberwolves, this would probably be a while. I think they made it to one NBA Final, I believe, back in maybe the 90s, if I'm correct. So the Timberwolves are a young team, like I said, but they're not as young as the Thunder. They have a great, great, great coaching staff. And I think right a lot of times. But I can see this Minnesota Timberwolves team winning it all. And, I mean, it is a team with Anthony Edwards, with Karl Anthony Towns, with Rudy Gobert, and Jaden McDaniels played great. That could totally win this. Chris Finch, a great coach, obviously getting injured in that first round. But they gentlemen sweep the Mavericks. They're coming, man. They're coming. And I feel it with the Florida Panthers on the NHL side of this. We'll talk about hockey in a second. Recap the Avalanche heartbreaking loss to the Dallas Stars in Game 6. But, man, do I feel something pulled to the Minnesota Timberwolves? And hopefully we'll be able to check in a couple of weeks, and my predictions are correct. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed our Hoops Talk for a second there. We had a huge matchup this weekend between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. We had 2 sonic blockbusters of a Game 7 on Sunday. But the Western Conference Finals are set, and they are ready to play out. Make sure to comment down below if you have any questions here in our chat. We're going to get down to the business, and it is looking pretty good with them. So let's head to the next topic where we talk about NHL. And folks, we got some good NHL talk to talk about. The Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars play a heartbreaking series. A series where the Avalanche come out winning their first game in overtime 4-3 in Dallas. And it was just a hell of a series. We know the story. The Dallas Stars win 3 straight, including winning both in Denver. But then the Colorado Avalanche come back and they say, hey, hold on a second. We are getting gentlemen sweep. They come back and they win game number 5. And they make this a great series. And then we open up this hockey game. And scoreless in the first, Avalanche crack ice as Middlestat scores in the second. And then the Dallas Stars pick up 1 in the third, and this game heads to overtime. Now, this game started 8:30 Mountain Time, 10:30 Eastern Time. So this game heads into overtime, tied at 1-1 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And one overtime period was not enough. I'm happy to say that. The Colorado Avalanche did give up a goal, but it was reversed after goaltending interference was called, and that sets up a hell of a second overtime. It felt like this game was going to go on forever. It went on till 11:55 Mountain Time Zone, 1:55 Eastern Time AM, when heartbreak broke in Denver. Alexander Georgiev played one of the best games of his career in Game 6. He was destined to win that game. And I thought the Colorado Avalanche were going to win for a while. And it just broke my heart. And that was so sad. I mean, talk about the Avalanche loss to the Kraken last year. That was very, very disappointing. But then, it just suddenly hit. And, you look back on the Avalanche run 2 years ago and we say, wait, the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago? I mean, we're all still living in the dreams of the Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup. There's going to be 2 Stanley Cup champions. And just the heartbreak that happened to the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday night in a whiteout in Ball Arena, 2 overtimes, and the game cracks open. 7 minutes in to the second overtime, ice breaks through the net. And the Dallas Stars win 2-1 in overtime to win the series 4-1. And it was Matt Duchene getting that goal there at the end to win it all. And Matt Duchene's heroics in that second overtime carried the Colorado Avalanche out of the playoffs. And with that concludes the Colorado Avalanche's season. And Nathan MacKinnon, what a great season, my friend. What a great season. The home point streak, which broke the NHL record. It was a heck of a season. I'm so happy about how far the Avalanche made it. But this was not their year. I feel the Florida Panthers. I feel like they're destined to win it all. I have a good feeling about them winning. But the Colorado Avalanche were just not enough. And with that, Denver folks, we come down to this. There are 2 remaining teams alive professionally in Denver. The Colorado Rockies and the Colorado Rapids. And the Rockies, after having a 7-game winning streak, got swept by the Giants this weekend with 2 games in 10-plus innings. A horrible weekend for the Rockies, pitching-wise and throwing-wise. But the Rapids with a 5-3 loss to Salt Lake, real Salt Lake. And Colorado sports just aren't. It's crazy to think because, the Avalanche, go back to Wednesday night. The Nuggets had a chance to win in 6. The Avalanche won game 5. The Rockies won their 7th straight. I mean, Colorado sports were rolling on Wednesday night. Colorado Rapids also won on Wednesday night. So things can change quickly. And, we get to look forward to college football around the corner. We get to look forward to the Broncos around the corner. And, I mean, it is tough. And, I mean, I'm praying for the CU Buffs to be good this year. Deion Sanders. And it's been a long offseason, folks, for my Broncos. All right, guys, we have a little update for you all. We got some WNBA action, baby. I'm an Iowa Hawkeyes fan. I've been following Caitlin Clark. They are chasing their first win of the season here, folks. And this game is coming down to the nail-biter. 2:51 to go with the game locked up at 76. Fever looking to get their first win. Now 78-76 Sun with 2:51 to go. And an and one there by the Connecticut Sun. Folks, we'll keep an update on that game. You can check it out on ESPN or on the Disney Plus app. We'll keep you an update. We'll tell you, can the Fever pick up their first win or will they lose? Caitlin Clark did hit a logo 3 in that game. Remember, folks, we are live next Tuesday on the Block 105 radio and live right here on my channel. Ada Collins commenting in the chat. Nice to see you, Ada. Welcome into the chat. Ask any comment, folks, on our live stream. We'll answer any topic you want to talk about. We have a story to get to in a little bit. We have a lot, but I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and just ask any questions you want in the chat right now. We are open to asking any questions. We can talk about whatever topic you would like to. Make sure to comment down below in the chat right now. Again, I'm Landon Rank, and I hope you enjoyed my takes on the NBA and NHL. Again, a blockbuster of a weekend in the NBA and NHL. Glad to recap it. Glad to be in a good space in the playoffs. Well, folks, the school year is coming to an end, folks, and we're going to take a quick break here on the First and Last Hit Show podcast. I'm your sports anchor of Coming Off the Bench with Landon Rank. We're going to take a quick commercial break. You're watching Coming Off the Bench. I'm Landon Rank. Welcome back to Off the Bench. I'm Landon. Welcome to our first ever podcast on the Block 105 radio and on the Buzz Sprout radio. I am Landon Rank, and we are excited to bring you today's first ever show. The Indiana Fever trying to win their first game. They're in a class right now, folks. We're going to keep updating you here on this game, 78-76, 2 minutes to go in this game. Caitlin Clark looking to pick up her first pro win of her career, and it is looking like it is going to be a thriller down there, and I'm excited. Well, folks, our next topic on the show, it might be the offseason, but we always know the NFL spirit lives on during the offseason. Offseason is a great time where NBA and where NFL teams rebuild and they change their roster. Sometimes coaching staff changes up. Sometimes stadiums get improved. It's a great time to appreciate the sport of football. And the offseason, even though the sport of football might not be played right now, the spirit of the NFL lives on in the postseason and off-season play. Well, the UFL, the United States Football League, or the United Football League, which combined the XFL and the USFL this year, have been drawing a lot of attention as Fox Sports and ESPN signed a deal with those teams. They are heading closer and closer to their playoffs. I'm not a big fan of it, though. I mean, always been a big fan of the NFL, so it will take me a little while to get used to the United States Football League. And, you never know, man. It's going to be an up and down ride for the UFL. I think where they're at and where, the production is remember, the NFL's been around for over 100 plus years. I mean, people know the name of the NFL, and it is huge to start up a spring league. I mean, we always want to watch football being played, but I haven't been a big fan of it this year. So we got a couple of NFL headlines to talk about, and then I got a hot take about where the future of the NFL is going and where we are in the state of NFL right now. Eagles player has retired after 9 seasons. A huge update for the Philadelphia Eagles. Wide receiver Devontae Parker retires after his 9th season. He announced this today, Monday night. This is just breaking through. Parker decided to retire from the NFL. He finished his career with 369 catches for 5,266 yards and 27 receiving touchdowns. And he was a good player, Devontae Parker, Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver, choosing to retire. Looking at some of the other news, we know about the Reese Rice situation with the hit and run, and he was charged with that. Looking also about the situation with some NFL teams' quarterbacks. Broncos Nation, you already know Bo Nix is living out his life and his career. He's having a great career out in Denver. I really like where he's been going with the Broncos. We all know how he's been doing fantastic. Bryce Young also has been making a lot of improvements out here in the offseason this season. I'm really excited to see how they do. So, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL season is over 100 days away from the regular season start, but that doesn't make it wrong for us to talk about the NFL. And today I'm going to be asking my top 10 questions for the NFL season. Now, these are my preseason questions. I always like to do a video about the end of the season where I answer them, but I'm going to do this a little bit earlier today because I have a lot of questions about the National Football League. These might be some of your questions you guys are wondering too, and we're going to go from 1 most important, 10 least important, and we're going to start off with number 10. All right, number 10. My question is, where is Deshaun Watson this season? The Browns quarterback, is he going to start some games this year? Where is he going to be at in his career? Coming off an injury, only got to play 4 or 5 games this season. My 10th question for the NFL this year is, where is Deshaun Watson? I think the Browns, where they are in a position right now, who will be the starter for the Cleveland Browns? Is it going to be Deshaun Watson? The Browns quarterback situation always something we are wondering. And, I mean, who will be the starter is a question that I think a lot of people are wondering for the Cleveland Browns. So my ninth question to ask for this is, how do the Chiefs respond to a Super Bowl season? Now, that might be your first question you're going to ask, but I really don't think it's that important that the Chiefs three-peat. I mean, the two-peat's very important, but the three-peat's going to be super hard. You don't see a lot of teams do it. It's very difficult. How will the Kansas City Chiefs respond? That is my ninth question. I mean, they have had a horrible offseason, losing a ton of players. And, I mean, their kicker just got attacked. Just been a crazy offseason for the Kansas City Chiefs. But it always feels like they just pick it up towards the end of the postseason play. The Kansas City Chiefs are just an amazing team in the postseason and how they play. And, I mean, that is a question I've been wondering for a long time, is how will the Kansas City Chiefs respond to the actions of this postseason and offseason play? Can they pick it up in the playoffs? I definitely do think they're going to win the AFC West, though. And then my eighth question is, where's Jim Harbaugh this season? Chargers? I mean, I'm an AFC West fan. Are Broncos going to take third? Are they going to take last again? This AFC West looking better than it has in a couple of years now, with Brandon Staley being fired, Jim Harbaugh being hired as the Chargers' next head coach. And I'm really curious to see this one. How does Herbert deal with Harbaugh? Is Harbaugh and Herbert a good matchup? I mean, Herbert and Harbaugh, it's the two H's. Can they be a great duo down in L.A.? Which leads into my seventh question. How does Lamar Jackson respond to his MVP season? Will Lamar Jackson go back-to-back MVPs? Or will he settle as an elite quarterback in the NFL? Could this be the Ravens' Super Bowl season? They made a couple of off-season changes. I can see them obviously making the playoffs. But could this be their season? That is the seventh question of the day. Again, if you have any other questions, make sure to comment down below in the comment section. We're going to move on to number 6. And number 6 is a question for my Denver Broncos, Bo Nix. How does he perform? My expectations for Bo Nix are a lot higher than most people's are. And I think we might be making Bo Nix a little overrated right now. We got to see him play. We got to see him work. He's been good in training camp. So, I mean, he's been good in practice, open practices right now. Obviously, training camp has not started. How will Bo Nix play? That is my important deal. Number 5. J.J. McCarthy leading the Minnesota Vikings. How does he deal post-Kirk Cousins era? We obviously know about all the offseason changes that have happened with the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins getting signed by the Falcons. They have a young head coach. How will the Minnesota Vikings deal? That's question number 5, which leads into number 4. How do the 49ers respond? Chiefs and 49ers, I don't think any of them are going to make it back to the Super Bowl this year, but how does C-Mac and Brock Purdy do in Brock Purdy's now second year as a starter, his third year in the NFL? How does Purdy's third year go? Could he win the MVP? Could C-Mac win the MVP? That's my 4th question. And number 3 is a hot take of a question. And my question is, where are the Pittsburgh Steelers? Whoa, we talk about the 2 teams in the NFL with 2 starting quarterbacks, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And where are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to be this year? Could they be a top tier in the stacked AFC North? Probably the best division in the NFL, or at least in the AFC. Where is Justin Fields going to be? Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be a backup? It's already been announced Russell Wilson is trying to be their starter. They're planning on Wilson to be their starter, the veteran now in his 11th year in the National Football League. Could Justin Fields take the next step in becoming the Steelers' future franchise quarterback? Number 2, how do the Texans respond to the offseason? This is a team that I think is my underdog to make it to the Super Bowl. The Houston Texans had an amazing offseason. They signed Stephon Diggs out of the Buffalo Bills. And could they be a Super Bowl caliber team? CJ Stroud's looking great. He's progressing great. I think yes. I think they can make it. I think they can make it to the playoffs. I think they can win the AFC South. But this team is looking really, really good. You do not want to play the Houston Texans. I mean, we haven't seen how Stephon Diggs plays in a Texans jersey, but how did they play? Did they make it to the playoffs? Did they make it to the AFC Championship? Could they be a Super Bowl underdog? Comment down below what you think about the Houston Texans and our number one question. Man, how do the Buffalo Bills respond? Bills Nation, end the season in a divisional round playoff loss off a missed field goal. Lose your number one wide receiver target, Josh Allen, heading into his now 5th year as an NFL quarterback. How do Bills Nation respond? Josh Allen's 5th year as a starter now. How is he going to play in 2024? That is my question. How does Allen perform without one of his favorite targets, Stephon Diggs? Is this Bills team going to go on a downhill run from here under Coach Sean McDermott? Could we see a tough season for the Buffalo Bills? That is my question. That is my number one question. It might surprise you guys, but I really see the Buffalo Bills as a team that represents the state of the NFL. And this is what my next topic is going to lead into. The NFL is changing. The NFL is changing. And the NFL is changing rapidly, and it is changing in a way that we, haven't seen in a while. And here is the thing. Here's the big deal with the NFL. Back in the 80s and the 90s, we had the Orange Crush defense. We've had some of the all-time greatest defenses. Defense wins championships. A statement made before 2000, defense wins championships. Ray Lewis, the Baltimore Ravens team, the 2015 Broncos team. It felt like defenses were carrying NFL teams. But then in the past couple of years, NFL teams have been scoring points more rapidly. Quarterbacks have been much mobile. The running backs have been much more attacked in the game. I mean, back in the day, quarterbacks were not as valuable as they are now. The NFL is moving into an offensive game, and it's been going on for years on years now. Think about the top players you can think in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and obviously quarterbacks, mobile quarterback, dual threats quarterbacks like Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. I mean, you could even go to consensus, say Jared Goff's playing some great football. And man, oh man, oh man, the NFL is changing rapidly. They're changing fast, and they're changing in a way that we have not seen in a while. The NFL is becoming an offensive sport. I mean, I'm trying to think of defensive players that are standout players still to this day. Aaron Donald, I mean, he was one of the best defensive ends. And, I mean, to look at where the Los Angeles Rams played, and obviously he has retired now the Los Angeles Rams. But I mean, I'm trying to think of defensive players, guys. It's making my brain go like, I don't know, Justin Simmons. Who are great defensive players? Comment down below if I'm missing anyone. I don't want to miss anything out. Yeah, just the sport is changing. What's going to be the next sport? Who knows? I mean, I was talking about this earlier with someone. Go back to the 40s. Go back to the 50s. Go back to the 60s. Throughout the early 1900s to the middle of 1900s, baseball was the biggest sport ever. You've heard the songs. You've heard the games. The cheap $1 tickets to the ballpark. Baseball, America's pastime. And then we held into an age in the 60s and the 70s where the NFL became more popular. The Super Bowl bringing in views. And then it was the NBA's time in the 80s and 90s, the Jordan era. And then the 2000s, the NFL has took control of the game. And you guys are going to be surprised about my sport that I think is going to take over next. Obviously, soccer, one of the most popular sports in the world. But in America, the National Football League is the most popular sport, most popular league. But what league is on the uprise that hasn't had their time yet? The National Hockey League. Hockey is a sport obviously played with teams inside and outside of the United States of America. They have, I believe, 5 Canadian teams: the Montreal Canadiens, the Winnipeg Jets. They have the Montreal Canadiens, 2 in the league, so that's a third. they have the Vancouver Canucks. And did I already say the no, I already said the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think I'm missing a team. But, where the Canadians are with hockey and then coming into the NHL, where, hockey has been super popular lately. I think when you go back into the 2000s, you could say hockey had its era. But I think hockey's on the uprise once again. A lot of people playing hockey suddenly again. I think a lot of people also, getting into the game of hockey since then. And, it is just a great sport to play. I don't personally play hockey, but I think it is a great sport. And ladies and gentlemen, we got an update for you. I'm sorry to interrupt the show, but this Indiana Fever game is coming down to a classic. 10.9 seconds to go in the fourth. We're tied up at 84, and we're going to keep an update on this. Women's basketball is huge. And coming up next on the show, we talk about the rise of the WNBA, my personal connection with Caitlin Clark. All right, we got it coming up next here on the show. I'm Landon Rank. I'll be right back in 1 second. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Landon Rank. Welcome to the greatest show, the Off the Bench podcast. I'm Landon Rank, and it's always good to take a break. And watching this Indiana Fever and Connecticut Sun game, as the Connecticut Suns just took the lead with 2 free throws, 10.9 seconds to go, Fever are going to have a chance to win it for a 3. You feel the magic happening. Caitlin Clark could fire away something great. Aaliyah Boston going to take a jumper, no good. 5 seconds to go, Suns get the rebound, and that could be the ball game. We'll keep a update on that game. Well, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of the game of women's sports, I'm from Iowa. Iowa women's basketball has been great for a while. Lisa Bluder just finished off her 24th year career in Iowa. And you know the name Caitlin Clark. And guess what? I know Caitlin Clark personally. When I was in 5th grade, my 5th grade teacher, Jamie Printy, former Iowa women's basketball player, we got to meet Caitlin Clark on Zoom during her freshman year. I remember asking her a question. I asked her, what do you want to do in your Iowa career? And she said, I want to bring Iowa a Big Ten championship, and I want to be the greatest player in Iowa history. Now, she definitely succeeded that, almost brought Iowa 2 national championships, and basically carried Iowa to a dynasty for the last 2 years. And now we look at where Clark is playing now in the WNBA, and she's playing some great ball as the game is over, and the Fever are going to lose another close game. And ladies and gentlemen, they're going to start off the year 0-4 in play. That is a tough start to the season. Caitlin Clark's Iowa career was amazing. I met Caitlin Clark. I got to meet her in person the next year. I have her signature. She was one of the best players I've ever seen. I watched all of her games. What a great player. Congratulations to her. Her WNBA team definitely on an interesting path right now. Starting out 0-4 to start off the season. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a tough loss as Clark winless for the first time in her career through 4 games. Iowa was just always rolling with her, but obviously having the first pick is tough. But there is always a chance that the Fever could pick it up and make a playoff run. Hopefully, at least they just win a game. I think it's hard for Clark because remember, guys, there's a big difference. Caitlin Clark was playing every 3 to 4 games. She's playing 2 games per week for about 8 weeks during the winter between November and February. So about 3 weeks of 2 games per week. So that's about approximately 42 game seasons, I believe they were playing out there in Iowa. About 42 to 45 games per season with the University of Iowa. They were playing 40 games. I think it's 40 games for college. That sounds about right. 40 games seems like the number. So it's a lot for Clark now to come into the WNBA and play every other day. And to see her struggling makes me sad inside, but I think she's going to get a hold of it. And she's not struggling points like with her points, but her team is definitely struggling. And she's committed a lot of turnovers. Obviously, she had, another great game today. She hit a nice logo 3. But, she is just – her team is just – it's in the off season, having the draft starting about 3 weeks before games start is tough too. So I really do see some growth in the Indiana Fever. I think they can be a great team down the stretch. Obviously starting off 0-4 to the year is never anything you want, but it could be something that could change later on. And Clark with 17 points today. She is the Fever's leading scorer, but the Fever moved to 0-4 as they lose a close home one, 88-84. We miss her in Iowa City. All hail Caitlin Clark. She is the queen of our game. Is she the female Curry? Steph Curry is a completely different player than Caitlin Clark. I don't think you can make a comparison to these two players. Steph Curry plays a different type of game than Caitlin Clark does. If you have ever watched the NBA, it is fast, it is quick. There are 120 points scored in most games, and the Fever have only had one game this year with a 102-66 loss. They have not scored anywhere close to 100 points in any of their games this year, and they're going to have a huge chance taking on the Storm on Wednesday to get their first win. Storm 1-3 to start the season. And, I mean, I think that where Caitlin Clark is in this game is pretty great. But Steph Curry, he's another step up. And Caitlin Clark's got to get that championship before she can be considered a Curry. So, I think there are female Currys out there, though. I think Sue Bird, I think Sabrina, who kept up with Curry in a three-point contest. Hell yeah. And I believe they were playing with men's-sized balls. Is that correct? Were they playing with men's balls when they were the average size for a basketball for men in the three-point contest? So that's pretty crazy that she made all those shots. We have a couple of comments down in the section. I'm going to check it out. Aran says, do you think Jesus could play basketball? All right, guys. We always don't have a lot of religious talk on the podcast. Nice to meet you, Aran M. I'm not sure if you've ever met me before. I'm Landon Rank. It's nice to meet you, though. Jesus, I think he could be a baller, man. I had an Easter shirt that says Jesus has risen. It was him dunking for Easter. So I think Jesus would be a good basketball player. I don't know what I'm assuming they played sports back when Jesus was alive. But thank you, Aran, for that question. And, folks, we're going to open up the show to you guys now. Comment down below your questions. Aran asks, could Jesus beat Curry in a 1v1? Man, I don't know. That would be close. I mean, as a religious man, I always believe God is the right way, and Jesus is I don't know what do you play basketball. Can't really make comparisons to that, but, So ask any questions below in the comments. We have about 8 more minutes to go here on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed our first podcast. Thanks to our friends out at the Block 105 Radio for hosting our first and last show, and thanks to my man, Ajay Wichita and Mac Dubs behind the scenes producing today's show. Every other week, you can catch our show Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the Block 105 Radio. I want to thank again my friends at the First and Last Hit Show. Make sure to like and subscribe to their channel. And make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Landon Sports Network. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We are 10% done with that. We have about 115 subscribers right now. So we're getting close. So make sure if you're watching this video, like and subscribe to the channel. We got more coming up on the show today. And I want to thank everybody. Again, we're not done yet. We got a lot to talk about in these last 7-8 minutes of the show. Make sure to keep commenting down below your questions. Aran says, Google was like 5'6", so I don't know. I agree. Jesus was a smaller guy, so I don't know if he could play ball, but, it could be interesting. Baseball has been really playing out well this year. Phillies lead the league. Got to see some Rockies action. So looking good overall. And, we are just kind of in a situation. I don't know about how you guys feel, but for me, I have 2 days of school left after today. And we are in a position right now during the summer when NHL and basketball are going to end in 3 weeks. And we got baseball, MLS, and NFL rumors. And I'm a baseball fan, but I'm not the biggest baseball fan. And the summer gets into a time where you have a team that maybe you play on for, soccer, I don't know, maybe baseball, you play on a team. But the fact that there are really not a lot of professional sports to watch, you try to watch sports TV during the summer, not good. I'm not going to say I hate ESPN shows. I'm not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith. He hates the Nuggets. I'm not a big fan of him. Joel Klatt is a great guy. He played out here in Colorado. He's actually from locally around here. I watch a lot of Fox Sports. But, look at where the sports are right now. This is a great time to appreciate the summer. It's a nice day out and appreciate where we are right now in sports. And I think that's an important part is where we are in the sports industry. And Aran says, do you think the Rockies are going to be blessed and win some games? Aran, I appreciate you asking these religious questions. I'm a big religious man myself. I'm a Catholic. I'm a Roman Catholic. And, the Rockies are such an interesting team. They fall back now, 15-30. Very disappointing, 15-31. And they kind of undo 3 of their 7-game win streak. But could the Rockies make a push again? Yes, they can. They have it in them. They've been still scoring, even though they've been losing games. They just got to really get their pitching going and fielding going. Aran says, "Yo, same. That's great, man." Aran, are you from around here? Where are you from, Aran? I mean, I don't need you to say your location, but make sure to comment down below where you're from. Thanks for watching our show. Make sure to like and subscribe. I mean, where are we right now in the action with the Rockies? Bud Black going through some manager problems. He got ejected from a game a couple weeks ago. We know the video of him on an airplane harassing the pilot. And, I ask myself this every day. Are the Colorado Rockies ever going to be good? I mean, they go on a 7-game win streak, but now they're kind of trying to undo it, which is never good. But Rockies have some hot backs. He says, "I miss Nolan, Arana." He said, "I miss Nolan." I do too, man. Aran says he's from Boulder. Well, Aran, you might know my church. I go to St. Francis of Assisi. You might know that church. So that's where I go. Nolan Arendo. You're talking about Nolan Arendo? Yeah. Nolan Arendo, a Rockies player who left a while ago to go to the St. Louis Cardinals. And I miss him too, man. He was a great player, played for the Rockies a long time. I miss Trevor Story the most, though, down there. He said Bud Black is so bad he won't do nothing unless the attendance numbers drop. I mean, guys, give the Rockies some credit. Do you know how many people show up to Rockies games to watch the team lose games? I mean, that is crazy. Look at the Broncos. They've sold out games for so long now and haven't had a winning season since 2016. I mean, credit to the Broncos fans for coming out and supporting their teams. I mean, Colorado's people love sports. I mean, I've got the privilege to go to Ball Arena and see a Nuggets game, see an Avalanche game. Oh my God, they love that place down there. I mean, I'm from Iowa where we sell it every single game at our local college arena. But man, oh man, oh man, is it great to see the state of Colorado come together and embrace sports. Because I'm going to tell you guys something right now. And this is an amazing thing. Sports is an amazing thing. The act of sports does amazing things for you. Sports is not just there to keep you fit, but it's also there emotionally. For me, sports is emotion. It's a game. It's a life. It's a lifestyle. You live and you die for your team. And that's what I love about sports is there's going to be ups and downs, but the consequences of being a fan is you lose, you're sad, but you win, you're happy. And it feels good when you win. And even when you lose, you know that there's nothing that you could have done to win the game unless you're on that team. And that's what I love about watching sports is that, hey, I might not be able to control the game, but I can still root and I can still feel the same emotions these players are playing. And sports is just such an amazing thing. And I'm so blessed to have sports in my life. And I am just really excited for this next season in sports in the NFL and in the NBA and in the NHL and where sports is going. Overall, it is great. And I'm just really excited to see where it is going to go. And that's just great about the history of sports. I mean, sports is such a lifestyle. I do a lot of play-by-play. I do a lot of broadcasting. I do a lot of stuff. Well, folks, we are on to our last segment here on Off the Bench Podcast. I'm Landon Rank. I'm 14 years old. I'm the youngest sports broadcaster I ever see. I do a lot of play-by-play. I do a lot of action. You can check out my channel. I've had some podcasts before. One more question. What will the Broncos schedule be this year? We've seen it. What do I think the Broncos record is going to be? I have the Broncos at 10-7 or 9-8. Hear me out. The Broncos are going to have their first winning season this year under Bo Nix and Sean Payton, and I can feel the connection coming. They're going to barely make it out of the playoffs. I think they're going to be 10-7. They could be like a 7 or a 6 seed, but I have a lot of high hopes for the Broncos this year. I think they can play really well. I think they can play an amazing season, and I think they could be one of the top teams in the AFC West. I actually believe they can go and win probably 10 games, like I said. I think they could do really well. And, I think they're going to have a great season this year under Bo Nix. And hopefully they can get Cortland Sutton to stay out there. I mean, it's going to be an interesting season. And I think the Broncos can do really, really well tonight. So, I want to thank everyone. Bo Nix, Around says Bo Nix is not ready for the NFL, and we have no wide receiver depth. Defense is okay. The Broncos are in a great position right now. I'm going to tell you right now, around. I don't know if you kept track of them. They had an amazing draft class. I would give the Broncos draft class an A+. They drafted 2 wide receivers, a beautiful quarterback out of Bo Nix. I mean, I watched Bo Nix his whole career. I've watched him since Auburn. I've watched him since Oregon. He wows me with the way he can throw the ball, the way he can escape the pocket, the way he can read defenses, the way he can read his reads. Hey, my first read isn't there. My second read is there. Bo Nix is an intelligent pro-style quarterback that can play great ball. He has some great receivers around him. Judy obviously left. Hopefully, Courtland Sutton can stay. I mean, this Broncos team is in a great position with their defense suffocating O-line. Alex Singleton, obviously Justin Simmons leaving, but leads players like Patrick Surtain to play for the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos had like amazing and defense last year with all those interceptions they forced midway through the season. All right, folks, that's going to do it for tonight's show. I'm Landon, the host of Off the Bench podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for my man, Oran, for joining tonight. And for my man, Mac Dubs and AJ Wichita joining in the studio, folks. I can't wait to continue to do this podcast with you guys. It's going to get better from now on. And make sure to check out our podcast every other Tuesday. So we'll be filming our next podcast next 2 weeks from now. It will be summer break. And I want to thank everybody for watching the podcast today. And Alex Singleton was announced now that he is a starter now on the offensive line around. He is now a starter. So thanks for watching the show, guys. Thanks to my man, Mac Dubs, AJ Wichita, back behind the booth for producing. And I hope you made it a great day. And I hope you have a great rest of your week, folks, and enjoy the rest of your school year if you're in school. And as always, our catch line here on the Off the Bench podcast, it's a special one. Sports is a living, but sports is a lifestyle. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time on Off the Bench podcast. I'm Landon Ray.